What's going on, everybody? I'm Silence Rain, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to create borders, logos, all that stuff for your Pokemon recordings and YouTube videos. This could also be used for any other type of video too, I guess, if you need to add a border or anything like that. All of this is going to be done for free as well. You do not need to pay anything. We're going to do everything inside of GIMP. I use this for my thumbnails as well. If y'all would like for me to make a tutorial on how to do the thumbnails in GIMP, just let me know. I'll make another tutorial for that as well. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Before we get started, we're going to need to download GIMP. I will have the link in the description down below. And it's usually pretty good about picking up what type of computer you have. And it will have the downloads down below, as you see right here. If it's not picking up what type of computer you have, you can also click right here where it shows all downloads and pick what type of computer you have. Now, once we download GIMP and open it up, you're going to see something like this. And we're going to go over to File, New. And you want to select the resolution that you're going to be recording or streaming with. For my case, it's 1920 by 1080, but you can also click here. They have different templates depending on whatever size resolution that you're going to be using. We'll click OK. Now, by default, GIMP is going to give you a background whenever you start a new one. We'll get rid of that, but for right now, let's go ahead and go over to File, Open as Layers, and we're going to select whatever we're going to use for our background. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and use my channel art, and I'm going to go ahead and explain before we get any further about the layers. Whatever is on top over here is going to be seen first. So let me just show you what I mean. If you come over here and click the rectangle select tool, you can actually select a box here, right click, edit, cut. Now we see the layer that's actually underneath. But if we come back over here to background, the blue background, and put it on top, you no longer see that portion that is selected, which I'm going to go ahead and hit select none real quick. Same thing goes with this background right here. But in order to show you that, we're going to add an alpha channel. What an alpha channel does is it allows transparency of that layer. So once we add that, we're going to come over and we'll actually just do the eraser tool for this example right here. And as you can see, as we start erasing, we can see the other background as well. So I'll undo that real quick. And now that we have a better understanding of how these layers actually work, the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get an idea of what size our game is going to be and our webcam. So I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to this scene over here. Let me go ahead and get this animation out of the way real quick. And you're going to take a screenshot. Once you have that screenshot, we're going to switch right back over. We're going to right click, edit, paste. And you want to come down below where you see this green button over here where my mouse is. You're going to click that in order to paste the layer. And we're going to bring this to the top. That way we can see it. Now, if you're unsure of how to take a screenshot, I know for Windows, it's Shift, Windows key, and S. But when I looked it up, I believe for OS, it is Shift, Command, and 3. So once we have this pasted, what we're going to do, we're going to come back over to this layer. We're going to right click, hit Scale Layer. And you're going to scale this to the resolution that we're using. So for me, it's 1920 by 1080, but you see whenever I clicked it, it came up 1912 by 1080, which means I didn't do the best of job of taking the screenshot. I was off a little bit, which that's fine. This is just for a demonstration, but I'm going to go ahead and just do that. That way it's close enough. It fills up the screen here. And then we're going to come over here and click this rectangle select tool. If any of these tools are not showing up, by the way, you can click over here at tools. You have the selection tools, the paint tools, and the transform tools. You can find all the tools right here. So now that we have the rectangle tool selected, we're going to scroll in by clicking Control and then scrolling in the mouse. And we're going to click somewhere about right there. I'm not too worried about being perfect for this. This is just for an example. And then we're going to drag that across. Get this somewhere about where it needs to be. Scroll back in for more accuracy. There we go. Once you have that selected, you're going to right click, edit, cut. And now you can see right here that we can see our background, and we're going to come over here and do the same thing to our camera. Now that we know where our gameplay and our webcam is going to be at, the next thing we need to figure out is where we're going to place our Pokemon. So what we can do, we can come over where we're going to place them at, however you want it. We'll just do this right here, edit, cut, and then do that all the way across for our Pokemon. Now that we know where we want everything at, we're going to come back over here to our layer. We're going to right click, alpha to selection, and then we're going to come down here to add a new page, hit OK, and we're going to right click, edit, stroke selection. Now for me, I usually use about 8 right here, but you can adjust whatever size that you want for your border. And you have other options as well, such as pattern and other options as well. I usually just keep everything the way it is. I'll show y'all how y'all can actually change it a little bit though. That way it's just not one color. And we're going to click stroke. And as you see, it actually stroked everywhere that we cut. So now we're going to come over, select none. We're going to come back over here. We're going to right click, delete layer. And now we have a border right here, but it also put a border on the top and the sides and bottom as well. You can leave that if you choose to, or you can come over here to this tool, hit the eraser. We'll go ahead and adjust this size a little bit smaller so we don't delete everything. Click over here on one of the corners, hold shift, and then click on the next corner. And then it'll go all the way across and delete that whole border. Like I said, you can choose to keep it, or if you want to delete it, you can just do that. Now, I know it looks pretty boring over here with just the black. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here to tools, paint tools, and then gradient. And then these are 2 different colors that we're going to be selecting here to change the color of our border. We're going to click the top one first to select one of the colors, which we'll just click somewhere right there for our first color. And then for our second color, we'll use blue. That sounds good. And we're going to come back over here to our border layer, right click it, alpha to selection. And then we're going to click on one side, drag it across, hit enter, and then select none. And now we have a blue and grayish border right here. You can use whichever colors you want. I'm just using these 2 colors as an example. Next, we're going to do gem badges. And you can download a PNG file, and where you see all this white will actually be transparent. But for the purpose of this video, I ended up copying and pasting it. That way I can show you how to get rid of the background if you ever need to. So what you'll do, you'll click and then move over until you select more. But you see, if you go too far, you'll actually select the gem badges as well. So just do it far enough to where you don't select those and then hit delete. That'll get rid of the background, and you can click anywhere or come over, select none. And then we're going to come over to this layer, and we're going to right click, scale layer, and we're going to scale this. We'll see what 200 looks like. All right, so that'll work right now. And we'll go ahead, drag this over. We'll say somewhere about right there. Now we're going to go ahead and add a border to this because it's going to be kind of hard to see with our background here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click, alpha to selection, right click, edit, stroke selection. Now, it is important to know that over here on your colors, whatever your first color is the color it's going to use for the stroke. Now, I don't want to have as thick as a border that we have for our Pokemon and our gaming. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to put this at about maybe 4, which doesn't look too bad. So that's what we're going to use right there. We'll go to select none. And now you can actually see the gem badges a lot better than what you could before. All right, we can see our badges now. The next thing we're going to do is create 8 more copies of these badges. So I'm going to do that real quick. Now that I have my multiple copies, I'm going to go ahead and hide all of them but one. You can do this by holding shift and then clicking the eye on only the layer that you want to see. And we're going to go ahead and select our crop tool up here. We're going to start off with our first badge, cropping it, and then hitting enter, and then doing that for every other badge. And I now have a layer for each gem badge, as you can see once I start clicking the eye on each layer. Now you have 2 options you can do through your playthrough for your badge progression. You can either have it to where you have one badge show up as you go and nothing else shown, or you can do the next option I'm about to show right now. For the other option, you want to have another layer with all the badges there, and you're going to right click, alpha to selection, and you can actually hit the pencil tool, make it as big as you want. And then you can hit that to black them all out. You could also come over here, get this little wand tool right here, try to get rid of the interior, hit delete, come over here, hit the erase tool. Let me make this small real quick, delete that. And then once you get the cascade badge, you can have it pop up like that during your gameplay. But for this video, I'm going to go ahead and just have them blacked out. Okay, so now we have our borders, we have our badges figured out. Now let's go ahead and make a logo for this. Whenever I'm creating logos, personally, I like using Photopea. I'll have the link in the description down below. You just come over to new project. You'll choose whatever resolution you're wanting to use. hit create. We'll come over here to this text box, create a text. Go ahead and highlight over that. Let's make this bigger. Size 150. There we go. And then we're going to select a font. I'm going to go ahead and use Distant Galaxy. We'll go ahead and delete this background layer. And you can actually mess around with this by right-clicking blending options and make something kind of like this, which this will work pretty well. We'll go ahead, come over here, and you can save this as a PSD, so you can always open it back up at Photopea. Keep these settings that you have for this if you like the way your text is. And then you're going to export this as a PNG and then go back to GIMP. I already have a Pokemon logo here. We'll go ahead and open. And I now have the fire red text that I need for my logo. We'll go ahead and drag that down. Now the Pokemon logo doesn't really go with it since this is black and red. So what we're going to do, we're going to right click colors and then hue saturation. We're going to go ahead and work on the color, see what we can kind of get. But you can either do this just with the master, or another thing you can do, you can hit the yellow, and then now it's only going to mess with the yellow. So we're going to try to kind of match this a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, probably about right there. That's good enough for this. And then we're going to select the blue. And then for the outside border, we're going to come to lightness. We're going to drag that down. We have this over here that didn't change color. So we're going to try to find that color, which is not that one. Maybe there we go, right there. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And then if you want to darken that up some more, you can actually go over to colors, hue saturation, try to find that color again, and then darken it further, which looks like that one's separated again. There we go. Which that looks about good enough for this, but you can also come over to text and then create a text right here, which says Nuzlocke. If you don't want to put that much effort into it, it's up to you. It all depends on how you want to do it. We'll make this bigger. There we go. We'll go ahead and make this red just to kind of match the theme. We'll right click it, alpha to selection, right click, edit, stroke selection. We'll go ahead and say about 8. We'll go ahead and stroke and then select none. So now we have a logo that we can use, which you can use other stuff too, but we're just going to use this for the example. And what we're going to do, once you have everything placed the way that you want it, which you can kind of move this around wherever you want, we're just going to keep this the way it is. We'll come over to our top layer, right click it, merge down, and then do that for the next one. We'll go ahead and delete this layer, and then we'll right click, edit, copy. We'll come back over where our templates are at. We'll right click, paste, drag this over, go ahead and create it as a new layer. We'll go ahead and scale this down to about 380 or so. See what that looks like, which works out pretty well actually. And the final step that we have, we need to add Pokemon as well. I'm going to go ahead and use this Pikachu just for an example. So we'll go ahead and drag that over, create that as a layer. Go ahead and get rid of this background. We'll go ahead and scale this down to about 150. Move it over to one of our boxes. But before we continue, we're going to come over here to this layer that's our border. We're going to bring this all the way to the top. Now that we have our border on top, we're going to come over here to our Pokemon and we're going to create our backgrounds real quick. So we're going to create a new page. After that, we're going to come over to this rectangle selection tool. We'll come down here and we're going to just select somewhere within the border. Select this bucket fill and then fill it with whatever color you want, which you can use the gradient tool like we did earlier. I'll show you real quick with that. And then just select one area and then come down. That way you have two different colors, whichever way you want to do that. And then we're going to go ahead and select this layer right here. This is the one with Pikachu. We need to make sure that that layer is on top. That way we have our background behind Pikachu. And then we're just going to come over and do the same for each one. All right, so now we have our background set up for all of our Pokemon. We'll go ahead and switch back over here where we got our webcam and our game. And I'm going to go ahead and change the display so you can kind of see how to add everything in there. I know this looks a little crazy right now, but you're going to come down here to the plus button. We're going to hit add image. I'll just keep that as image for right now. I'm going to go ahead and browse. So I'll go ahead and select that. Okay. Get rid of this display. Okay. So we have our border. We got our logo. Everything looks good. But how do we add our Pokemon? Let's go ahead and get into that real quick. If you're doing this as a live stream, I recommend hiding everything and then exporting this as a different name. And you're going to add in whatever you get throughout the game. So as you get a Pokemon, you'll add an image in here, put it wherever you need it. I recommend putting these boxes up because it kind of helps you align the Pokemon, make sure they're inside the border if that's what you want to do. And then you can actually hide it after. That way, when you export it, it doesn't mess anything up. And if you add the gym badges as well, once you export this with whatever changes you make, it'll update on OBS. So you don't have to open up the image again. It makes things a lot easier doing it this way. Now, if you're doing this as a recording, it's a little bit different. What you're going to do, you're going to actually export this with whatever you're adding in one at a time. So for instance, I would export this with Pikachu, say name it Pikachu. I would end up exporting this with the Boulder badge, name it Boulder badge. And then you'll add these as a layer on top of your video in your editor. And you can either add these with a transition, make them fade in, however you want to do them, or not put a transition. It's all up to you on how you want to do that. Now, I forgot to mention how to add your background in. It's really simple. Same thing as adding in the border. The only thing is you're going to drag that and put that all the way on the bottom. That way everything else is in front. This was covering most of the basics on how you do all this, but as you saw, there's a lot you can actually do with this if you kind of play around with it and everything. If I missed anything or you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I do make sure to read all of them and I will try to help you out the best that I can. Hopefully this starts helping you make templates for your content. And if it did, please consider leaving a like. It helps out more than you guys know. And let me know in the comment section down below, what are you going to use this for? Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, peace.